I'm going to start by removing this factory fuel pump. Wow, is this thing old? I'm going to probably just end up breaking this electrical connector off because I know I got to drill a hole through there anyways. And get kind of aggressive with this thing. I'm going to attempt to twist off the top aggressively. If that doesn't work, I'm going to drill this out with a unibit. We'll see what happens here. Probably help a little bit if I had a vise, but it is what it is. It's getting there. Clear all this crap out of the way so that I can drill in there. Yeah, it's riveted. If there's a rivet in there, I'm going to have to drill it. I'm going to use this unibit. Hopefully it's sharp enough to get it started. It's a step in the right direction. I got the electrical connector off. It's in shambles, but it's off. Alright, now what the website is saying is that I guess the old feed line, which was connected to the pump before, which would be this guy, that becomes the return line, and the return line, the little guy here, is going to get drilled out because we're going to put a bigger line in there. What's tricky here is that the return line, the smaller one, it's very, very close to the to the other bracket here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some tin snips. Hopefully that cuts right through. Find out. Should have suspected that would be more solid than right now. Try these other ones. Those things are screwed. The goal here is just to get that nipple out of the way so I can start drilling. Maybe if I start, I got a crease in it. I'm hoping I could bend it around a little bit. Yep, that's all it took. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to, I'm just going to open up that area a little bit with a unibit, and just to try to get that old line out of there. We'll see what happens. I'm not going to go too big. I'm actually going to try to, maybe I'll try to start that off with a smaller drill bit. Let me get a smaller drill bit. I got it open back. It's open back up there, so maybe I can get the unit bit in there now. Maybe cutting it with the tin snips wasn't the right thing to do. It would have helped to have an air saw. Alright, let's see if this goes in here. Let's see if I can get a unit bit in there. I'm going to spray a little lubricant in there. Hoping this thing breaks loose in here. Still, it's just getting a little warm. Definitely see I'm starting to come through there. I see light coming through it. I'm going to try to wrestle this thing off with a set of pliers, and I'll be back after that thing's out of there. Alright, I've been wrestling with this thing for about 10 minutes, and it's got to be welded. There's got to be a tiny little weld, I think, right here on the bracket. That old fuel return line does not want to come off. I tried a pry bar, panel poppers, flat head, everything I've done, that thing doesn't want to budge. So I think what I'm going to do is actually just leave it in place. And I originally I cut it off with tin snips. It didn't want to cut off. So it actually pinched it flat through excessive force, and then I was able to take the pliers and wiggle, and it broke off. Remnants are somewhere over here, but I'm going to end up bending that back in place, and I'm going to actually end up bringing this thing to work tomorrow. Because what I didn't realize is that when you look at the website, you know, the two holes are side by side here, and on the website you can actually see they cut this bracket right about in here, and there's a little spot weld there, so you can't cut too much, but with the size fittings, and no matter, you know, they show either one, it's a big fitting, and when you go to lock it down, it's gonna hit this bracket. So this bracket here has to be cut with an air saw or some kind of Dremel. I'm gonna use an air saw, and obviously I probably got to go all the way down to the base and get that base flat again, so that you know, these things seat perfectly flat. As long as I avoid that rivet, I think I'll be okay. And I finally got my hands on an air compressor here. I'm gonna use this air saw and try to chop this metal here. Trying to avoid that rivet. Probably gonna have to hit that with a Dremel or something. It's the blade's not long enough to get on the flat surface. Well, I found out my Dremel is broken, so all I have is this Rotozip, and I'm just gonna carefully try to grind away what's left, because this is the only tool I have that I think will actually get to that. Hopefully it'll bend away at this point. Just trying to get a flat surface there. It's my only goal. It's not too bad. Yeah, that's smooth now. I think when I drill that out bigger, I'm going to try to obviously avoid the bracket, but I'm going to try to drill the hole away from the bracket here. I'm going to hit this a little bit more just to smooth it out. I guess I got a little more grinding to do. What I noticed is this is on that original return line, which becomes the feed line when you do the conversion here. Obviously, I was mentioning I want to stay away from this bracket, so I'm going to try to, bore the hole out in this direction. When I flip it over, I notice, I'll put a little more light on here. This is really it might actually make it harder to see. Right here in that area, there's a little bracket to hold the old line here. So that is not going to allow that the nut to sit flat. So I'm actually going to have to grind a little bit of that away, but I can't go too much because there is a rivet. There actually is a rivet back here, so I can only take a little bit of that away, but I got to take something off of there to be sure that it sits flat. And this is going to be really tricky to get it in the right spot. I'll take that light off there. I think I have to really be careful and try to open the hole up this way, something like that. Let me get a better marker. Got to come out in this direction to stay ideally just to stay away from the bracket. Got to stay away from this guy here, and then we got to stay away from this here. So yeah, can really be careful how you drill this hole. This could easily be messed up. I'm going to just try to grind a little bit of that away. I'm hoping that's enough. It's somewhat, it gave me a little more room, but it's not perfect. I'm hoping that when I bring the when I bring the hole away from all that, and say I go like that, I know that's huge, but I'm hoping that as I move the hole away from all this, it'll be flat enough for it to seat. I'll know in a little while when I go to bore that out. Alright, I'm trying to determine where to drill these two holes. They got to go out, get drilled out a lot bigger. I put the factory O-ring back on here, the rubber. I'm just going to trace it. Obviously I know I can't go outside of that line. I'm going to pull that rubber back off there. Now I see there's not much room to work with here. I'm right on the edge as it is. I'm going to have to try to go in with that one. I'm going to attempt to drill out the new feed line, or the output line, which is closest to the return. I'm going to attempt to do that one first. That one's they're both going to be tricky, but I'm going to start there, I guess. Lubricate this up. I'm hoping I don't have to drill smaller holes, and I know I have to go in that general direction. I kind of got to go more towards the center. More towards the center. Kind of in an angle there. Get away from that bracket. Stay away from the gasket. I'm going to try to just put pressure in that direction and see how it works. It's starting to smoke a little bit. Put some lubricant on there. I'm not forcing the bit all the way in. I'm just kind of riding the next size smaller step and pushing in the direction I want the hole to go in. Takes a pretty steady hand. This will be the feed line. Yeah, it's still too small. Well, I'm just gonna keep doing that process. It's going to be time consuming, but I just got to go slow and be sure that that hole goes in the right direction. Okay, I got this hole opened up pretty good. Now what I'm seeing is that you know, I've created an oval shape hole slightly, and but when I hold the fitting up that's going to go there, I can see on the two longest sides of the oval that there's a little bit of light coming through it. So I think the oval is big enough. I'm just gonna now I'm gonna actually put downwards pressure on the unibit to make it a circle again, because I know the outer diameter is, you know, on the oval is big enough. So as soon as I drill down and hit that diameter, I'm gonna stop. I'm probably going to repeat that same process for both sides, you know, dragging the unibit down on the smaller step, and then as it creates an oval, when the fitting has that same circumference where it looks good, you know, I'll put the downwards pressure. I'm not going to videotape both holes. It'd be a really long video. I've been drilling this thing out with a unibit, and I'm going real slow, checking it every step of the way. I finally, you know, I got it to go through. It's actually even a little loose, okay? But they give you the Teflon fitting on that. It comes attached to it, and there's a lip on it. And it got a little lip on there. So obviously that has to seat one way or the other. I'm guessing on the inside. I'm going to reference their website, but the hole has to be much bigger than the fitting. And what, you know, as I go here, right now I'm pretty even. I'm getting dangerously close to the gasket. So now I'm actually going to have to drag this one inward more as I go with my final step on the drill bit. You know, I'm almost to my last step. I got a pretty big drill bit on there, the unibit. So last second adjustment, I gotta drag this thing down so that the fitting here doesn't hit the rubber seal on the tank. It's getting real close. It's also real close to that metal I cut. It's real tight. Alright, I finally got this fuel hanger back from PTFE Coating. It was kind of tricky to find someone to want to do it. All the people that do this PTFE coating, they want to do industrial jobs, not real small stuff like this. I found a company in Morris, Illinois that does this work. I will put a link up or something at the end of the video in case somebody has as much trouble as I did trying to find someone to coat something this small. I guess why you need the coating, or why it's recommended, is that E85 is very corrosive, and it will actually eat through any metal, that, especially with raw edges, like the area where we cut here to modify this thing. It was untreated metal, so the E85 would have a field day with that and corrode it very quickly. I'm just trying to put this factory stuff back on here. It's fitting together fairly nicely. I didn't have to go with red. They had a bunch of different colors. I just chose red because my car is black and I got like a black and red thing going on. So that's why we went with red. These fittings were so close. I'm going to put the Teflon ones on the inside just because it seems like, you know, with the coating being a plastic Teflon coating, I would guess that the Teflon seals should go on the inside. Just makes sense, even though when you look on the website you see it both ways on JB Tune's website. I'm going to do the same thing with the fuel feed here. It's probably unnecessary. Just safety precaution. I don't want little pieces in my gas tank. Just a tiny little bit there. Thread this stuff back together. Actually, I'm going to take this apart one more time. It's probably a little hard to tell, but I shaved the nylon washer. There's a flat spot there, just so it matches up next to the other one real nice. They were so close they were overlapping, so I had to shave down the nylon washer just a touch. It's like the the feed is a 21 millimeter. Just gonna snug it. Just giving this thing a few more final cranks, holding it from the bottom. Want that thing to be tight. Up. This other one appears to be a 7/8. Just gonna do the same with that. Just snug it up. You can see we barely had any room left there. It's right on the edge of the it's right on the edge of the ring for the seal. I mean, it's real tight, and it's actually hitting almost hitting the Teflon washer. Very tight, very close. One thing I did notice when I was putting this all together, I ordered the complete kit from JB Tuned. They didn't give me the plug for this. This plug was missing. I had to call them and buy this separately, which was kind of odd, you know, because I don't have a way to make a connection there. I'm not going to leave raw wires in the tank. So if you're buying their full kit, not only, you know, to modify the fuel hanger, but you know, their kit that where you run the lines from the back of the car to the front of the car, which I did all at once. You have to ask for this plug, and the sock at the bottom of the fuel pump is sold separately, because I didn't want to use my OEM sock. I mean, it's really dirty, so I didn't want to use a Honda one. I figured I'd call them, and it wasn't much. It was only like 25 bucks or something for the two of them, but still not included in the kit. So this is two more things you would have to add on to actually have everything. But they do have them in stock, and they're just not part of the kit. What I'm shooting for here is to have the clamp below that little nipple from the factory. There's a rubber nipple. I'm sure that is just so the fuel pump doesn't vibrate against the bracket, but in this case I'm going to try to use it to make it so my hose clamp doesn't slide up. See how that works out. Just going just past snug. That is very solid. It's looking good.